Most of the extra virgin olive oil sitting on American supermarket shelves right now is not actually extra virgin. That is not my opinion. That is not a clickbait headline. That is the conclusion of a University of California Davis study from 2010, which tested the most popular imported brands in the country and found that 69% of them failed the legal definition of extra virgin. 69%. Let that number sit with you for a moment because the implications are staggering. Americans spend roughly $3 billion a year on olive oil, and a huge chunk of that money is flowing toward bottles that are, at best, refined industrial oil wearing a Tuscan costume. At worst, they are blended with cheap seed oils, oxidized on the boat, and stamped with a harvest date that does not exist. You are paying $12, $15, sometimes $20 a bottle for something that is legally closer to lamp fuel than to the green, peppery, antioxidant-rich liquid the label promises you. Stick around because one of the brands on today's winner list is stocked at most major grocery chains, costs around $12, and is verifiably real extra virgin, grown, pressed, and bottled on American soil. I spent weeks auditing every olive oil on the shelf, reading every back label, cross-checking every country of origin, and the results were not what I expected. Here is what real extra virgin olive oil actually is. You take fresh olives, you crush them mechanically within hours of harvest, with no heat and no chemical solvents, and you press out the juice. That is it. That is the entire process that humans have been performing for roughly 6,000 years. The finished oil must have a free fatty acid content below 0.8%, and it must pass a sensory panel for taste defects. Those are the rules set by the International Olive Council and adopted by the United States Department of Agriculture in 2010. Here is the problem with following those rules. To produce 1 single liter of real extra virgin, you need roughly 5 kilograms of olives, harvested and pressed within 24 hours in temperature-controlled stainless steel mills by people who actually know what they're doing. A legitimate bottle of single estate extra virgin costs the producer somewhere between $8 and $15 before it ever leaves the farm, before shipping, before import duties, before retail markup. So how do the big brands sell you a bottle for $9 at the grocery store? They do not. What they sell you is a logistical magic trick performed in a warehouse outside of Lucca. They buy low-grade Lampeter oil, which is technically not fit for human consumption in its raw state, and they refine it with heat and chemical solvents until it is completely flavorless and odorless. Then they add a small splash of real extra virgin back in for color and aroma, and they ship the result to American supermarkets under a name that sounds like a Renaissance painter. And here is the legal loophole that protects all of it. The phrase packed in Italy does not mean the olives grew in Italy. It means a warehouse in Italy received oil from Tunisia, Spain, Morocco, and Turkey, blended it together, bottled it, and slapped an Italian flag on the front. Read the fine print on the back. It is always sitting right there, in a font so small it may as well be a confession. The skip list brand number 1. Bertolli is the best-selling olive oil brand in the United States, and it is owned by a Spanish conglomerate called D'Oleo. Not, as the label suggests, a small Italian family. Bertolli was one of the brands that failed the University of California Davis Sensory Panel in 2010, and the company was later named in a class action lawsuit alleging that its extra virgin was, in reality, a lower grade product. Flip the bottle over. You will see a rotating cast of countries listed on the origin line. Sometimes Spain, sometimes Tunisia, sometimes Greece, sometimes all 4 in the same shipment. The marketing sells you a Tuscan villa at golden hour. The back label sells you a shipping manifest from 4 different continents. Brand number 2, Filippo Berio. Filippo Berio builds its entire brand on nearly 200 years of claimed Italian heritage. What the brand does not advertise is that in 2015, the company settled a class action lawsuit for roughly $480,000 over claims that its extra virgin was not actually extra virgin at all. The oil is bottled in Lucca, Italy, but the olives often come from anywhere but Italy. And here is the single biggest red flag on the entire bottle. There is no harvest date printed anywhere. Not on the front, not on the back, not under the cap. A producer who is proud of their oil always prints the date the olives were picked. A producer who is not hopes you never ask. Brand number 3, Calavita. Calavita looks exactly like you want your olive oil to look. Green bottle, Italian name, premium placement on the middle shelf, just above eye level where the expensive stuff lives. But Calavita was another one of the brands flagged in the University of California Davis investigation, with samples failing the extra virgin sensory standard outright. The oil is typically a blend sourced from multiple Mediterranean countries, and the label's proud claim of first cold press is, under current United States law, essentially meaningless. Any brand can print those words. Nobody enforces them. The phrase is not certification, it is decoration. Brand number 4, Pompeian. Pompeian is the oldest olive oil company in America, founded in 1906, and it is also one of the most aggressively marketed budget extra virgin brands on the shelf. Here's the issue the marketing never mentions. Pompeian openly blends oils from Spain, Argentina, Morocco, Tunisia, Turkey, and the United States, sometimes all in the same bottle, and sells the result under a single extra virgin label. When you mix oil from 6 different countries, harvested at 6 different times of year, pressed in 6 different facilities, you're not buying extra virgin olive oil. You're buying a commodity product wearing an Italian costume and hoping nobody reads the fine print. Brand number 5, Star Extra Virgin, is owned by Borges, a massive Spanish conglomerate, and it consistently shows up on independent tester reports as underperforming on polyphenol content and freshness markers. But the bigger problem is visible before you even open the cap. The bottle is almost always clear glass. Clear glass is the fastest possible way to oxidize olive oil and destroy whatever antioxidants it started with, because light degrades the oil faster than heat does. A clear glass bottle with no harvest date, sitting under fluorescent grocery store lights for months on end, is not a premium product. It is a warning label dressed up in gold foil. Brand number 6, Carapelli. Carapelli is owned by D'Olio, the same Spanish parent company that owns Bertolli. Same corporate owner, same playbook, same problem. Carapelli's Extra Virgin was among the samples that failed the University of California Davis standards back in 2010, and nothing structural has changed about how the oil is sourced since then. The front label tells a beautiful story about Florentine tradition and rolling Tuscan hills. The ingredient sourcing tells a story about bulk tanker ships crossing the Mediterranean in the middle of the night. Read the country of origin line. It is always a list of 4 or 5 countries, never a single origin. That is not heritage. That is procurement. You do not need a laboratory to audit your olive oil. You need about 60 seconds, a pantry, and a little bit of skepticism. Here are 3 tests you can run right now, and they will tell you exactly what is in that bottle. Test 1, the harvest date test. Flip the bottle over and look for a harvest date, not a best by date. A best by date means almost nothing in this category. It is marketing. A harvest date tells you when the olives were actually picked and crushed, which is the single most important piece of information about any bottle of olive oil. If the harvest date is more than 18 months old, the oil is past its prime. If there is no harvest date at all, put it back on the shelf. Test 2, the peppery throat test. Pour a small amount into a spoon and sip it. Real extra virgin, rich in polyphenols, will make the back of your throat tingle, burn, or even cough on the very first taste. That burn is the taste of antioxidants doing their job. Refined, blended, or oxidized oil tastes flat, greasy, and slightly waxy. Nothing at the back of the throat at all. If you do not feel that peppery catch, you are drinking decoration, not medicine. Now test 3, the dark bottle rule. Light destroys olive oil faster than heat does. Any producer who bottles their so-called premium oil in clear glass is telling you, without actually telling you, that shelf appeal matters more to them than product integrity. Dark green glass, dark brown glass, or a tin can. Nothing else should ever make it into your cart. The real list brand. Number 1, California Olive Ranch, 100% California line. California Olive Ranch is the value play of the entire episode, and it is probably sitting in a grocery store within a mile of wherever you are right now. The olives are grown in California, harvested in California, and pressed in California, and the harvest date is printed right on the bottle where it belongs. One important caveat, their global blend line is sourced from multiple countries, and you should skip that one entirely. But their 100% California line is the real deal, and you can find it for around $12 at most. Major supermarkets, same price as the fake stuff sitting right next to it. Zero compromise on quality. If you change nothing else after this video, change this one thing. Brand number 2, Cobram Estate. Cobram Estate is an Australian producer that has quietly become one of the most decorated extra virgin olive oil companies in the world, winning hundreds of international awards over the past 15 years against Italian and Spanish giants that outspend them 1,000 to 1 on marketing. The oil is single estate, single harvest, and pressed within 6 hours of picking, which is about as fresh as commercially available olive oil gets anywhere on earth. Every bottle carries a harvest date and the specific grove it came from. Expect to pay between $14 and $22 depending on the variety. That is real extra virgin pricing for a real extra virgin product, and it consistently tests at the very top of independent polyphenol charts. Brand number 3, Bariani. Bariani is a small family mill in Northern California that has been making stone-pressed olive oil the traditional way since 1992. They grow their own olives. They press them within hours of harvest on their own equipment, and they bottle the oil in dark glass with the harvest date clearly printed on the label. It is not cheap. A 500 milliliter bottle runs around $25. But what you are buying is unfiltered, unrefined, single estate, extra virgin olive oil that tastes the way real extra virgin is actually supposed to taste. Peppery, grassy, almost fruity on the finish. Alive in a way that most supermarket oil forgot how to be about 40 years ago. So here's the takeaway. Your health is not a commodity for these corporations to optimize, and your kitchen counter is not a dumping ground for refined Lampanta oil dressed up with a picture of a Tuscan sunset. Every time you buy a bottle of blended, mislabeled, clear glass extra virgin, you are subsidizing an industry that spent the last 50 years figuring out how to sell you less food for more money. The good news, the real stuff is still out there. Sometimes it costs the same, sometimes it costs less. You just have to know where to look and what to read. The olive oil aisle will never look the same to you again. Neither will any salad, any pan of roasted vegetables, or any drizzle of so-called finishing oil poured from a bottle you trusted. The label can lie, but the harvest date cannot. Subscribe to Tasted and Tested for more investigations, because you have the right to know what is actually in your kitchen.